Guys, did I ever tweet about this? I don't think I did. Wow, look at you guys. Coming in. Despite no tweet. Actually, there's some serious debate as to whether tweets are even, you know, a valid way of alerting people anymore. I mean, obviously it's a little bit valid, but I guess more the debate is it doesn't draw in people very much anymore. Now it's all about the Twitch follows, actually. And I understand that. I get it. I do think that Twitter is no longer a place to... It used to be the place to go to get the lowdown on especially Starcraft and esports tournaments. Now it really isn't. As someone who still does see people tweet that they're live and go through that link to their stream, I think I'll still want to tweet. But yeah, anyways. Whole debates about, you know, people like to talk about the logistics and whatnot of streaming. There's been a bunch of debates about that. Onto a brand new best of 3 PvP in the bottom left for Team Wardy. It is Rail. Guys, excuse me, am I wrong in that with the team battle debate were people saying that Wardy is biased because he doesn't own a team? He's not a team owner? Hello? Okay, in the top right as the orange Protoss, he is Clash's Rotterdam, who just announced his own team. So, yeah. If you missed the bants in between games, Rotterdam has said that he is literally 0-70 against Rail. Now, I didn't check that. I could check that. But I'm the impression, I think it's more like, okay, I just do not win against this guy. Whether it's 70 series in a row, that's another thing. But I will believe Rotterdam when he says that he doesn't really win that much against the guy. He doesn't win much against Neeb either, but it has happened. Alright, according to Illegal, they've only ever played in 2 matches that are official enough to be on Illegal, so it's not really... We can't determine anything there, so we're just gonna have to trust Rotterdam and his latter experiences with this guy. Unfortunately, Rotterdam does also have a style that can be figured out in PvP. Alright, some interesting things happening with the Roddy style. He has gone for 2 gateways in his armor score as normal, but notably not walling off his base. Now, this is generally not advisable, right? Like, don't try and do this at home type thing. It's kind of a bait, is what we've reduced it to. It's kind of a bait. It says, if you send adepts my way, I actually will have units in position so that you think you're going to do a lot of damage, and then you don't. Where if it's more of like a wall off a 2-gate, right? I am planning on doing other things with my units, thus you can catch me off guard. This way he should not be caught off guard, but adepts will get into the main base. And if they do damage, but they also get a lot of free scouting. So there is a Stargate that was scouted by Rail with the probe. When you go for 1 base, Stargate, if the probe is insistent about sticking around, there's not much you can do about that being scouted. But it's Rotterdam, so like, oh, is that really a big surprise? I don't think so. Shield Battery's gonna finish up with the main, but if the 2 adepts are shooting correctly, I think they got one shot probe through the shield battery. Yeah, the shield battery's effective, but with 1 adept left over, the shield battery absolutely would. This also will help if Rail is the type of player to gamble a little bit and go for a Stargate himself and try and sneak an Oracle around. I think there's an obvious reason as to why that would be a gamble. But it does help against the adepts. So Rail gets in there, gets 4 probes in total. I think he also killed the scouting probe. And now the game continues. Now Rotterdam, by being a Phoenix player, you can basically guarantee that he gets the return damage. He will eventually also get 3 to 4 probes and then some. The difference is that 3 probes at 3 minutes is much different than 6 probes at 6 minutes, right? So it still doesn't feel very good for Rotterdam, as they both are expanding around the same time. And Rail is already prepping against Phoenix play because why wouldn't you? You know what Rotterdam's gonna do. So Blink, very strong, very necessary against actual Phoenix players. It doesn't cover all your bases, but the ability to actually punish swoop-ins from the Phoenix is I mean, it's undeniably good. Like, you just have to have it. The other thing you can do as a defending player is actually expand. Same deal as in the PvZ we just watched. The Phoenix can't do very much about buildings. But only if that is Rail's plan. Now, attacking into a Phoenix player, not macroing against them, but rather actually trying to do an attack off of 2 bases into the Phoenix player is also dangerous. Reason being, the War Prism gets sniped a lot, right? But it is doable. It is something you can do. Rotterdam wants to do more damage than that. I mean, 3 probes at 5 minutes is making it up a little bit for the earlier harassment. Phoenix also shouldn't be underestimated in regards to direct fights. Right? I think we've learned that over the years. They can definitely be useful there. Rotterdam does have, I think, I mean, the last time I saw him do a PvP, as I catch his stream every now and again, he did this exact same build, actually, against... Ooh, another very recognizable Protoss player, but I forget who. Anyways, it's the exact same build he did. On this map, in this location, very funny stuff. Maybe Rail knows it, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he scouts it, maybe he doesn't. But he should know that Rotterdam doesn't macro all the time in PvP. And this proxy zealot warp-in, well, initially doesn't look that intimidating. With charge done and the gateways finishing up, will eventually look very intimidating. And the combo of charge lots on top of stalkers, with the Phoenix picking up any that are left behind or trying to micro away, can be very, very deadly. They are simply waiting for the attack to commence, guys. With bated breath. We're going to see the A move in just a second. Rail will quickly kill his own Nexus. By kill it, I mean cancel it. And then defend in his natural. The last time I saw this, like, Rotterdam literally caught the other guy by surprise. All of his units were actually bombarded by Zealots, and he had to quickly emergency react. But the other guy still ended up winning. Rotterdam, I think, eventually just ran out of steam, basically, is what happened. So, let's see if that happens here. This time, the Protoss player is not completely surprised by this. The Nexus will be that full warning, so just cancel it, no big deal. And then try and set up some defenses in the natural. 2 shield biters are already prepared, so I'm pretty sure Rail was actually anticipating this. I just was quite confident against it. Shield overcharge is now available, so different than the game I saw on his ladder stream like a month ago. And that should be it. That should actually cut it. The Phoenix aren't helping out enough. The Zealots aren't getting enough swipes on these Stalkers, of which there are quite a few. And they even have a +1. This has failed quite a bit. I think I can hype this up. 7 Phoenix against 22 Stalkers. The Zealots getting 1 good charge in, and then ideally they're microed away from. In this case, he just has so many units against whatever rod he throws at him that he stands there anyways. And that is going to be that. Not much recovery from here, I would say. The Phoenix numbers have been torn down. They might still be able to help out a little bit for direct fights, and a couple probes will go down. But Rail, if he just adds a Twilight Council, a Templar Archives, and goes into Archons, gets his 3rd Nexus down, he will now control the game. The Phoenix is supposed to control the game usually. Now there's so many Blink Stalkers to them that the Stalkers will absolutely control it. Deny him from getting that quick of a 3rd base, if ever capable of being getting a 3rd base, and this Immortal could even be in trouble, honestly. There's not a whole lot of units for Rotterdam here protecting it. Rail is going to blink up to the high ground, posture himself to actually start picking off units if he would like. Checks around for a 3rd Nexus, sees nothing, and actually going to evacuate, so no, perfect micro, kind of cheeky show-off showmanship, I guess. Just going to play the macro game. Rail actually goes into a Robo, which, I mean, is still, obviously you want a Robo eventually, but I was definitely expecting Templar Archives. That should also eventually come down. +2 being chroned out here. Blink Stalkers, definitely plentiful enough that they'll one-shot the Phoenix. Ooh, not quite there. And Rotterdam should try and stick in this game. But even with 3 Immortals against what is still like a pure Stalker army, really, I don't give him much credit to the push. He might also be hitting just before +2. But Rail still has numbers, has static defense, might have shield overcharge. And is actually just going to continue building Stalkers. Like, who needs more technology? Who needs their own Immortals? Who needs Archons? That's what I'm stuck on. Like, I don't even think he needs Immortals. But Archons, I would say, would be the safest thing to do to help out against the Zealots especially. But nope, just keep making Stalkers. Another proxy gateway coming down to the left side this time. If there is something tricky that Rotterdam could do, you know, if there was like Lings that get into the main base and destroy the economy, like, give him some credit. I guess he's a little tricky by pushing into a location that Rail wasn't anticipating. Well, a couple of Stalkers do go down. The rest of the Stalkers come in for a full surround. The sentries are picked off first, so no, well, not even Guardian Shield being popped anyways. The Zealots on the top side are doing okay against the Stalkers. Another Immortal joins in as well, because the Immortals over here are getting taken down. They got quite a few shots. They have taken down a fair number of Stalkers, just not enough to really make it work out here. Still 23 Stalkers up the board for Rail. Still places to go back to as far as static defense goes, and still a lot of production. GG. Rotterdam tries his good all in and does not work. I see someone mentioning the shield overcharge as being one of the reasons that 2 base all-ins don't work. That's not really true. Especially since, like, there are definitely scenarios where the shield battery that's being overcharged could be killed. People are giving it a little bit too much credit, I feel like. Don't get me wrong, it's actually pretty good. It definitely has changed some things, but I think it's given a little too much credit. Wow. By the way, Naniwa is in the qualifying match. Harstep is up against Blue Cheese. That could have been a fun TVP. Who else is waiting in a qualifying match? Okay, just Naniwa, actually. The winner of this will head into a qualifying match against either Kung Fu Banda, Strange, or Fuser. I'm gonna guess Strange beats Fuser. And we'll see what happens in the PvP after that. Game number 2 is going to be on Death Aura. Actually, one of our longer maps, despite the acceleration zones. Oops. Chose Terran accidentally, a little too fast on the go button. Do you have a favorite playstyle to commentate? Not really. I think I enjoy both. A lot of aggression and a lot of macro. I just want it to be mixed up not just one over and over and over again. What do you think of voids for PvP? That's too big of a question to answer, dude. You gotta be more specific. Alright, game number 2 on Death War. Finally set up correctly. The PvP in the bottom right. For Team Morty, it is Rail. In the top left, for Clash, he is Rotterdam. That makes it 0-71. Rotterdam tries his, I think, fairly well-practiced all-in. I think the fact that it is well-practiced gave Rail too much of a heads up. He was really well prepared for it. He never directly scouted the proxy. But I think just, like, knowing how Rotterdam plays, maybe on that map specifically, knowing how to play it safe, knowing that he can play it safe and still win. Another big benefit to just believing you're the better player is that you can... I mean, if you're facing TY, you might be like, okay, I can't afford this shield battery. I need to just play it perfectly. But against someone you think you're going to win no matter what in a macro game, get 1,000 bunkers, get 10 shield batteries. So I think that all played into Rail's defenses, looking really, really good. Just literally building up a stalker count and not using them in a silly way. Rail is going to try and lean into the change of the PvP. He's going for a 1-gate expand. Is that a Nexus? It almost looks like a Nexus first, actually. But the point is, he is playing into the shield overcharge, working well for him. And also, I guess, what is typically not a very aggressive Rotterdam in the early game. Already probably not known super well for his proxy robos, or even proxy Stargates. If you proxy a Stargate, you can't build Phoenix when it's, you know, when the pylon's found and killed. So, I think it's a good call by Rail. At most, he deals with harassment in the early game, which is something you can usually deal with even with a low amount of units. And then by the time a 2-base all-in could occur, if it occurs, Rail would have already reaped the rewards of his Nexus. He gets in, scouts the Stargate, knows he doesn't have to worry about building a shield battery here. Could maybe build a shield battery in the main just to, like, cover his bases, but he would need another pylon for that. And one of the funny things about getting this fast of a Nexus is that he's at 1 less pylon than his opponent. Nexus have supply. Well, Rotterdam changing things up a little bit, I think, right? He didn't go for that fast of a robo. Well, definitely not on 1 base, but definitely, yeah. Definitely mixing things up. No Nexus, just right into a robo. Might be starting off the aggression a lot earlier. Now, this is not a reaction. He is only just now going to see something a little bit odd. And honestly, it's actually kind of difficult to see what he would see as odd. He would see the lack of units. Like, why aren't there 5 units here? 6 units here? A 4th one just popped out. Like, where's your sentries as well is usually something that pops out. So it's actually going to be 6 stalkers. Rail is starting a little bit nervous. He hasn't gotten back in the scout of the Nexus that have ever been taken. And there are ways, I think, for Rotterdam to use this aggressively. I actually think Rotterdam was reading this as something that he needed to use defensively. And that sets him up very poorly up against someone who went for this fast of a Nexus. Yeah, he's in a super poor position. If the robo was used for something aggressive, like he just cut Stargate, you know, only built an Oracle, for instance, or 2 Oracles just to harass the mineral lines, and then went into like a 3-gate robo build, the surprise factor might have been able to do it when the you know, the proxy not being roboed, not being that quick would have made it a little bit weaker. Maybe the surprise factor would have made up for that. Well, that's not actually what Roddy was doing. Roddy was being a little bit scared of PvP. And seeing that his opponent is so well set up on 2 bases with this much saturation is a real bummer for him, basically. Not only does he have a bunch of units that are only good at harassing, he also has no setup to punish this, has kind of wasted a robo timing when it could have been a Nexus timing a bit faster. He will eventually use the robo. It's a pretty crucial thing to have in PvP, but it just would have been much more preferable to have Nexus building double probes. So gonna go into chronoing the Nexus, try and catch up with the probe count, but he's been down by at least 7 for a while now, and we can see the income really starting to spike here. And it's gonna stay that way for a while until they're both saturated on the natural. Rails, once again going with a Blink. Definitely good to anticipate Rotterdam going into Phoenix. And I don't see anything happening for Rotterdam to mix this up. Really don't. This observer is getting like the most scouting ever had. And it doesn't matter. All it scouts is that Rotterdam can't go into the natural, and you can't really go into the main either. Against a normal player, if you thought they were going for Phoenix, and actually they were just going into 2 Phoenix, and then otherwise playing into like a more normal game, being this defensive with your stalkers is probably bad. You know, especially if they see how defensive you are. They can not only add on Immortals, which Rotterdam is doing, but they also add on, like, a faster third Nexus. And really just chrono the probes and add on +1 and get their charge. Like, they get to that ultimate army. But Rotterdam is just, he's too much of a Phoenix player to not go Phoenix when he starts this third game. So Rail is totally correct in playing very defensive. Not much he's going to find otherwise. He could go across the map with like half his stalkers and try and do something, but oh well, why bother? Just grab a third Nexus, don't need to defend it, Phoenix can't lift it. This just feels so bad for Rotterdam, and nothing much has really happened as far as direct fights. Just scouting in PvP, man. And a risky build for Rail, but one I think that was very smart. He's not going for the charge lot all in again, but he is going for an attack. He's got only 3 gateways? Well, more should be coming down. A 4th one is coming down, but I feel like there should be at least 1 more after that. Oh, okay, no, just the proxy gateway. So 4 gateways, a handful of Immortals, couple Phoenix, and he's going to try and bust Rail, who has just been building up that stalker count. An insane amount of stalkers, has 1 Guardian Shield that will probably be picked off, but still good to have. It's got shield batteries that can be overcharged. Even though the army supply looks similar, I don't believe it. I think it's a lie. It's a lie! $32 stalkers for Rail against 4 Immortals, 6 Zealots, 9 Phoenix. Don't even want to include the other things here. Don't matter. There's a shield overcharge, as well as a 2nd shield battery to help out. Stalkers aggressively blink forward on top of Roddy's army. Popping the Immortal shield, taking them down pretty quickly. And that is game. Rail just knows Roddy too well. Well played. Rail moves on to a qualifying match against TPD. We just don't know yet. Ooh, I hear thunder.